Hello everyone, this is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, back with another video. And today we're going to be reviewing the 1992 erotic thriller Poison Ivy. The movie stars Drew Barrymore, Sara Gilbert, Tom Skerrit, and Cheryl Ladd. Um, hmm. Yeah, the movie is directed by Kat Shea Rubin, co-written by her as well. And does it say who wrote the story here? No, it does not say. Anyway, this is the Blu-ray edition that came out from Scream Factory, and Kat Shea Rubin, who a lot of people would remember, she's the director of Roger Corman films like Strip to Kill and many others. Horror fans will definitely remember her from Psycho 3. She was the lady who goes to the bathroom in Norman Bates's office, and she's sitting on the toilet going wee wee, and Mother comes in and cuts her throat, stabs her, and everything. Even sticks the knife in the toilet paper. So anyway, so that's Kat Shea Rubin, but she's been she switched to writing and directing. She's been directing for years. And I remember when the movie first came out, it had gotten a lot of, I mean, they really tried to sell it. And from what I heard on the commentary and everything, was that at the time when this was made, New Line was really trying to, yeah, they were doing great with horror, Nightmare on Elm Street, things like that, but they were really trying to kind of branch out and do other things. And so they thought they'd try, an erotic suspense thriller. And, so, they got in the script and everything else and they made the movie, but they really didn't have a lot of faith in it. So, and the one thing to note is it's actually kind of surprising for a movie that ended up getting three sequels. This movie bombed when it first came out in theaters, and even though they really tried to sell it, I mean, I even remember back in the day when this movie first came out, they were all like, you turn on the news, shows like a current affair and things like that, there these news stories were coming out. I was like, oh my God, Drew Barrymore, the little girl from E.T., she's all grown up and showing us her good stuff in her new film and all this stuff. But the movie didn't do well. And this is one of those cases. So you say, well, if the movie bombed in theaters, how the hell did you get three sequels? Well, what ended up happening, it ended up being one of those kind of movies like, yeah, it didn't do good in theaters, but it found, once it got out on VHS and cable and everything else, people discovered it and started watching it, and it found its audience that way. And ultimately, over the next few years, they were able to make sequels to it. So, but the story doesn't seem particularly new. Even for the time that it came out, it wasn't like an entirely brand new kind of movie, and it's definitely been copied since. I mean, almost. I mean, come on, you turn on Lifetime Network. I mean, you can. I mean, at least two or three times a week, you'll find a movie that has pretty much the exact same plot as Poison Ivy. But the story is about Sylvie, who's played by Sara Gilbert, who at the time, she was kind of really the big deal because she was Darlene on Roseanne, and of course now the funny part is she's back to being Darlene on The Conners again. So, but Sara Gilbert, she's this teenage schoolgirl. She comes from a very rich family. Um, I think it's kind of I don't know. I think it's kind of infer that she's adopted, or that her you know they say something about like her father Daryl, played by Tom Skerritt, isn't exactly her real father. I don't know. They kind of hint at that, but anyway, though, so the movie starts off, and I gotta say the movie is beautifully filmed. The cinematography is really nice. It's um, very colorful, very lushly filmed, and everything else. You start off this montage of Drew Barrymore looking beautiful and sexy and everything else. Showing her beautiful legs and boots and stuff, and she's swinging out a rope swing and everything else, and um, she's being sketched by Sylvie. And Sylvie at first, she's kind of like really critiquing Ivy and saying, like, oh, she's kind of a trashy girl, or this, or she's kind of sexy in a trashy way. I could maybe see myself being I could maybe see myself being, attracted to her and stuff like that. And um then they hear about a dog that got hit by a car, and then so they're all looking at this poor dog is dying, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And Ivy comes up and takes basically a lead pipe and kills the dog, to kind of put it out of its misery. But also too, I think that's supposed to give you kind of an idea of, the kind of person that Ivy is, and so um, you find out Sylvie and Ivy start to kind of bond together, and Ivy's this kind of like poor girl, where Sylvie, like I said, she comes from a rich family. And but one thing you're going to notice about this movie is that all the characters in this movie are miserable. I mean, these are miserable, miserable people. Um, Sylvie invites Ivy to come home with her, and then we've got Daryl, played by Tom Skerritt. He's, his wife is very sick. Cheryl Ladd, she's very sick, and she's not doing well at all. She has to have a respirator to breathe, and she takes pills and stuff. And she's constantly talking about killing herself, and she wants to die. She wants, she just wants it all to stop and everything else. And so that's going on, and he's also worried, because he's an older man. He's worried that his career is failing. He's, gonna. It's like, even though he's financially set and everything else and all this stuff, he's afraid that he's gonna lose his livelihood and everything else. And so they invite Ivy into their home. And at first, the mom is kind of like, ooh, you really hang around that trashy girl and all this stuff. But then, Ivy's kind of able to kind of wait to charm her way into the family and stuff. And so they end up accepting her and stuff. And then, she's hanging out, looking all hot and sexy. Like, here, you see the picture right there. And so, and so like Daryl comes out to talk to her. He accidentally drops her boots into the water and stuff, and gives her money. So everybody kind of starts giving her money and everything else, and she kind of starts working on seducing the dad. And but that's kind of the thing you see is like Sylvie's kind of attracted to Ivy because Ivy's kind of this free spirit, kind of does what she wants in the moment, kind of just lives it up and everything else. And so, but Ivy also becomes very infatuated with Sylvie's lifestyle because she's rich, she gets to have all this money, lives in this big beautiful house and everything else. And so she decides, she wants, this is what she wants. But here's the problem: Mama's in the way. So she starts. Hang on a second. I got a picture of Drew Barrymore. So yeah. So like, here's a picture of her in the movie, and basically she kind of starts like trying to seduce the dad and everything else. And so but then she kind of realizes that kind of like the best thing for her to do is to kind of go ahead and get rid of the best thing for her to do if she really wants to have this lifestyle. She kind of needs to get rid of Mama. And uh, let's see here, where's that other picture of her? There we go. I think everybody would like this picture a little bit more. So another picture of her from the movie. So anyway, so oops, hit the volume button again. Anyway, okay, enough farting around. Back to the movie. So anyway, so yeah, so now Ivy, she's trying to she starts seducing the dad, and they get into, she's kind of, he, it turns out he had a thing about drinking, so she gets him back into drinking again. And he kind of spends a little bit of the movie in kind of a drunken stupor a lot of the time. And she ends up like, well, Sylvie was going to help Daryl with a party that he was going to have to try to see if he can get people to help him be interested in him, help his career going and stuff like that. And um, Ivy kind of screws Sylvie by having where she has to go away for the weekend or something. And so she starts working on the dad and everything else. They start having sex. And then finally the moment comes where the Ivy goes and she kills the mom by pushing her off of the balcony. They're on the second floor. She pushes her off, and the mother falls to her death. And but see, the thing is, though, is like at first nobody suspects Ivy because the mother constantly is always talking about killing herself. She wants to end it, and if she wanted to die, nobody's going to stop her from doing it and everything else. And so after she's dead, that the little bit by little bit, Sylvie starts to suspect that Ivy had something to do with it. And then at one point, to cover her tracks, Ivy gets them into a car accident, and Sylvie not bashes her head, but she hurts her head to where she's having to be put in the hospital. And so she's trying to convince Daryl that no, Ivy's the one who killed Mom and stuff, and he's not listening. And so, she sneaks out of the hospital. The problem is she's hallucinating, and she comes home and she finds that Daryl and Ivy are having sex, and and so they find out that she escaped from the hospital, and it comes out that Ivy, admits to Daryl that she's kind of manufactured a lot of this stuff, and he's like, "Oh my God, my daughter! I got to find her and all this." And at one point, Ivy decides to draw out Sylvie by going up dressed up as her mom, and Sylvie, hallucinating that it is her mom. She comes up and she's like, "Mom, I love you," and they kiss, and then, but where Ivy messes up is she starts using her tongue, in the kiss and everything, and then it snaps, Sylvie out of her hallucination and stuff, and so Ivy's like, "No, we can be, together and this and that and all this stuff," and so Sylvie just, pretty much pushes Ivy out the window. She falls to her death too, pretty much the same way. And um, I'm gonna be honest, okay? For as far as like erotic thrillers go, this movie is not as erotic as I remember it being. I remember when I first watched it and stuff, it was a lot more risque at the time when it came out, and I mean, that was kind of the thing everybody wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see Drew Barrymore and all her beautiful glory and stuff. And she looks gorgeous in the movie. She looks very lovely, and she's always photographed well. But just yeah, I think if you're going to be looking for a lot of eroticism and a lot of sexuality in this movie, I think you're going to be really disappointed. But if you don't mind a thriller with interesting characters, good characterization, um, all the actors and actresses in this movie do play a good role in this movie. Tom Skerritt, like yeah, he's done better. I wouldn't say this is his greatest movie ever, but he really does good with the material that he's given. Um, he plays Daryl really well. He has a couple of good moments in the movie. There's a moment in where he's in a his character's in a elevator and another guy comes in and he's all like, "Hey man, talk to me. What's going on?" And he's talking about like, my wife is so sick and she can't even breathe long enough to say I love you, and he's all like, if she dies, what am I going to do? I'm nothing without her and stuff. And he has a really good moment there, and Cheryl Ladd, I mean, she plays a good role, but I think the biggest problem with her character was just that her character comes off as a bit annoying because she's always, sorry, she's always talking about she wants to die and she always talking about she wants to end it. And Sara Gilbert has good moments in this movie too. This kind of really is more Sara Gilbert's movie than anybody else's. I mean, um, you got Drew Barrymore and everybody else in this movie, but yeah, Sara Gilbert kind of really steals the show in this. It's really kind of more her movie. There's a moment where she's talking to her mom and she's like, "I just want to know, do you believe in God?" And Cheryl Ladd's character is like, I believe that if I could just take a breath without it hurting, that would be heaven, and stuff like that. And she's all like, "Mom, it's like I want to help you, I love you, I want to help you, I want to be there for you, but if you don't talk to me, how am I going to be able to do anything for you and everything else?" So they do have good, interesting character moments, and but yeah, just like I said though, I mean, if you're going into this hoping for a ton of nudity, a ton of sexuality and stuff, you're not going to really find it. There are a lot more. This movie's not really exploitative, is what I'm getting at. It's like it's not really the whole movie doesn't really hinge on the nudity and the sexuality. It is a component, but not the strongest one. Basically, the whole movie is really more about Ivy just trying to work on this family, trying to get them to turn against each other, trying to get it to where everybody looks to her and everybody, puts all their trust into her, and so she can kind of take it over and everything else. But I mean, it is a good thriller. I mean, if you want like a good suspense thriller, it has kind of a Hitchcockian feel to it. But I mean, in this here, the Scream Factory has the rated, unrated versions both on it, and I would say kind of the biggest kind of the biggest thing in the unrated version is, there's in one sex scene between Daryl and Ivy, there's you get to see more like him fondling her breasts and things like that, but just kind of a little extra here and there, but not much. Um, I will say, I mean, Scream Factory, I think they did a good job with it. I think they did the best that they could with this movie, considering. It doesn't look mind blowing on Blu-ray. I mean, it looks good. I mean, it's definitely watchable and stuff. And I'm not gonna shit on Scream Factory. I'm sure they did the best they could under the circumstances. Tried to, get the best picture quality out of it they could. But it could just been the film stock that was used to film the movie. But I mean, it's just like the picture quality is just not going to really like blow you out of your seats. Unfortunately, the only bonus feature on here was a commentary with Cat Shea Rubin. And yeah, like I said, when I first got this, when I did my haul video where I showed this off, yeah, I was kind of hoping that I'd heard a rumor that the way that Jamie Presley here, the way she got her role in the third movie was that she was Drew Barrymore's body double in the first movie, and that's never confirmed. So as far as I know, that may just always be a rumor, and Jamie Presley may have just maybe the only way she got the part, she went in, she auditioned, and she got it. I don't know, but we'll never know. But yeah, I would say that's probably my biggest disappointment with this box is just it's very lacking in bonus features. Every movie comes, well, except for the fourth movie. The three movies come with the rated and unrated versions, and they have the theatrical trailers, and that's pretty much about all you're going to get. Commentary on the first movie, but Poison Ivy, I would say, yeah, if you do like good suspense thrillers and things like that, I'd say give it a shot. But if you're just going into this hoping for a lot of nudity, a lot of TNA, and all that other kind of stuff, yeah, you really better look somewhere else. This movie's not going to really be what you want. So sorry about that. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Yeah, I think we talked long enough about this. So yeah, Poison Ivy. Anyway, if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please like and subscribe. Um, this is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, and we'll be back to talk about the other Poison Ivy movies here pretty soon. So have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.